what's up you guys? Yes, welcome back.
Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
Today's gonna be a bit of a story time about something I don't ever really talk about on this channel, which is the fact that I am deaf, hard of hearing. There's different words for it. It all kind of means the same thing to me, so let's talk about it. First of all, I'm gonna try in iMovie to simulate what I hear. So this right here is what my hearing usually sounds like without my hearing aids on. Everything's kind of quiet, feels like maybe you've got like a pillow over your head. I was born normal, middle child, no problems, healthy baby, but my dad has ear problems in his family, and his started around elementary school, and when I started elementary school, I failed my hearing test. That's right, I've been failing since day one. I was 5, so I don't really know what happened. But that year, no one did anything about it. I don't really have any extra information, and no one in my family really remembers, other than I failed my first ever hearing test. But I went to Catholic school, so they didn't really have to do anything about it. That was sign number 1. The next year, first grade, same thing happened. I moved schools, and then I had to take a new hearing test, and I failed it again. And at this point, I also vaguely recall I got like ear infections for the first time and had a bit of swelling on my right side. So I ended up going to the doctor, my pediatrician, who sent me to a ear, nose, and throat doctor who's now retired, but like was my doctor for 13 or 14 years. And I had to get a CT scan, which is when they put you in a big, it's kind of like an MRI, but it's a bigger chamber. Plus I was a 6-year-old, so I wasn't like claustrophobic or afraid of anything. And they put like a lead vest on you so that you don't get cancer from the rays. Had to do that, and then they ended up finding that I have cholesteatoma in my right ear. So cholesteatoma is an abnormal, non-cancerous skin growth that can develop in the middle section of the ear behind the eardrum. So it's basically like a cyst inside your body. It can spread to your brain or to your facial nerve and make half your face go, you know, limp, where you talk and only this side of your mouth moves. That's what happens if you like don't treat it. So like if we were in the 1500s, I would have probably died. But modern medicine and Dr. Razgon hooked it up. Again, I was 6. I don't know when we figured out like, oh, she's gonna need surgery, but I know we waited until summer so that I didn't have to miss any school. So the summer between 1st and 2nd grade, I had surgery on my right ear, which involves, if I can show you properly, I think you can see it. They cut all the way up to here-ish. And in order to do that, they shave a nice little chunk of your hair off behind your ear. They're kind of long surgeries, probably like 6 to 8 hours, and they go in and try to take all the cholesteatoma out, basically. I ended up staying overnight in the hospital. In the middle of the night, my mom had gone outside to smoke a cigarette, and I was 6 years old, laying in bed, and I had to pee, but because your ear is like where your balance center is, I wasn't very well balanced after the surgery, so I tried to like roll out of bed and go to the bathroom, but I was also hooked up to an IV, and I didn't know that you could like take the little cart thing with you because no one had shown me how to do that yet, and it's the middle of the night and I just have to pee. In the process of getting out of bed, my IV like ripped out of my arm. I was like bleeding all over and like the nurse rushes in because I think like I had taken off my heart rate monitor finger thing. So like the nurse rushes in, and then my mom rushes in, and I'm sure she did not feel great about that experience. She's like, I leave for 10 minutes, and I'm just like, I had to pee. What do you want from me? That happened. We go home. I just kind of spent the next couple of weeks, probably almost a month and a half. I would sleep on the couch in the living room. I would watch a lot of TV, but I couldn't really hear that well, so I watched a lot of TV with no subtitles, just kind of guessing what was happening on like Say Yes to the Dress or whatever was on in 2005. Is that how long ago that was? Jesus. My mom gave me a little bell that I would ring when I wanted her to come help me, because she was a stay-at-home mom, but like we had a pretty big house, so that was fun. I like ordering people around. And in general, it was just like I was very sick because, again, the balance center affects like nausea and stuff like that, so I kind of threw up a lot, and I I wasn't very good at walking for a while. And my mom would put Benadryl in my pudding to help me go to sleep. I didn't know how to take pills yet because I was 6. Yeah, I just kind of watched TV. I was sad I didn't get to go to summer camp, and I just kind of ate a lot of popsicles and like pudding. So at that point I had normal hearing on my left ear, and my right ear was kind of like kicked down a notch, but I could still have friends on the schoolyard, be a mostly normal person. So I go back to school, nothing really happens. I'm like a regular kid who's kind of deaf, very unaware of it because I'm a 2nd grader. I don't think I really understood what was going on until a lot later. So 2 years later, I'm 8 years old and my ear hurts really bad. And I don't know if it was like preemptive cynicism, which sounds very me, or what it was, but I didn't tell anybody that I was in pain. Everything from like here over hurt, so I couldn't really move my neck very well. That hurt. Falling asleep was really hard, and it was very, very painful and very swollen and red, but I just kind of, you know, covered it up with my hair, didn't tell anybody. My mom noticed one day that my ear was sticking out, and I was like, oh well, yeah, it like hurts really bad. And this has been going on for probably, I don't know, months. And so she makes a last ditch appointment with my ear doctor, and he takes a look at me and is like, okay, let's go get you a CAT scan, but let's schedule you for this surgery tomorrow morning. But I have such a swollen ear that I can't hear. Specifically remember sitting in the doctor's office and being like, are you guys talking? Like, I can't tell. I didn't know I had surgery the next morning as like a big emergency. I just thought I just had a regular ear doctor appointment and I got to go eat pizza now. Not true. We leave the doctor's office and I'm like, pizza time? Yes. So there's this really good pizza place down the street from the doctor's office. I was like, what did he say? And my mom's like, oh, you have surgery tomorrow morning. I have what? I had a full breakdown. I was so upset because I didn't know. I mean, I don't know. I was a little kid and surgery is like a scary thing. So cholesteatoma came back. Plus I had mastoiditis, which is when your mastoid bone, which is this hard one all behind your ear here, gets inflamed. So the cholesteatoma had grown back with a vengeance and infected like this whole kind of side of my head. Ew. Same deal. Surgery during the summertime. It might have been during spring break, but it's always during some kind of school break. Sleeping on the couch. And same thing, they give you like this big gauze kind of head wrap. So that's 2 surgeries on this ear. My hearing on this side is basically shot. Like, it really is so bad. That happens 2 years later. It's the same cycle every 2 years. I would go to my ear doctor at least 2 to 6 times a year. It was the same thing. He's like, I'm gonna send you to get a CT scan. Yeah, you have cholesteatoma, not only on the right side again, but on the left side as well. I have what? You know, at this point I'm like 10 years old. I'm in 5th grade. I'm angry. I'm sick of it. And now I'm gonna be deafer again on this side. Deaf for the first time on my left side. So I had a double cholesteatoma surgery that lasted like 11 and a half hours, which is insane. Shout out Dr. Rasgon, like I said. So same thing on this side. Shaved up both sides. Scars. Parts of my head I can't really feel that well because they were cut open so many times. And like at this point I was pretty used to it. I mean, I was 10. I'd had 3 surgeries in 6 years. The bilateral, as they call it, the bilateral cholesteatoma kind of took a toll on me like socially, because now it wasn't like, oh, stand on this side so I can hear you. It was like, what? And I mean, 5th graders are already not very nice, and they're extra not nice when they don't want to repeat themselves over and over. And I wasn't very good at explaining like, hey, I'm kind of hard of hearing, like maybe I should learn sign language. I don't know, is there anything I can do? And I went to Catholic school, so they didn't have to do anything for me legally like public schools do. I had fewer friends, and I was really hard to listen in class because a lot of your teachers are older when you're in Catholic school. Like there's a lot of old ladies and old men teaching those classes, and they have quieter voices than like a young person does, typically, in my experience. That's the thing. Even if I sat at the front of class, I was like, what are you saying? Like, what's going on? Yeah, I got like bitter early on. I was like, dude, this shit sucks. I'm deaf. My friends don't really want to talk to me. I can't hear them, so what's the point? So I just became a person who read a lot of books, and I would sit and my teachers would be like teaching and I'd be under the desk like reading a book, which is really like disrespectful as a child, but it made sense to me at the time. I was like, yo, you guys suck. I don't think my parents probably ever really knew that I was having a hard time, because I had really good grades, because I like, even without a teacher like telling me what to do, I could figure out my schoolwork, which is probably why as a college student I'm so good at skipping class and then figuring stuff out on my own. I've been practicing for years. So all of this kind of culminated to me moving schools after 6th grade. We were like, this place sucks. And I ended up moving schools to a private, not Catholic school, and it was all girls. They still didn't have to do anything to help me, but they like valued my opinion a bit more. That was the first time I ever had to take a language class, and I had to take Spanish, and I wasn't good at it. Probably because I could hardly hear English, let alone Spanish. That makes sense to me. Like if I was my Spanish teacher, I'd be like, maybe she gets a pass. She is deaf. And I really think my Spanish teacher thought I was like faking it. You're pretty dramatic at 12. Like, what do you want me to do? I can't hear you teach the class. I'm not gonna be able to speak the language very well. I can't hear myself speak English. How am I supposed to hear myself speak Spanish? And that was the first time anyone ever asked me like, well, what are you gonna do about it? Me and my dad and her had like a parent-teacher conference, just us, because I wasn't doing well in that class. And I was like, I don't know, I'm 12. What do you mean, what am I gonna do about it? Like, God hates me and this is my life now. Not a very good mindset, but you know, you're dramatic at 12. I was, at least. I moved to this new school. Everything's going great. Spring break comes along, and guess what's another surgery? Me. Both sides, cholesteatoma again. At this point, I'm pretty used to it. The previous bilateral surgery where I had both of my ears done, I couldn't walk without throwing up for weeks. Second one wasn't so bad. It was like 3 days that I had trouble, and then I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'm cool. And at this point, they were like, I think you might be deaf. And I was like, do you think so? 12-year-old me is like pissed off because my ear doctor told me I didn't need hearing aids for like years, and you can't really get them unless you get a referral. So I just kind of wandered through life not hearing stuff. I get my hearing aids. They're in the ear little guys like you see old people wearing. I had baby pink for my right ear and baby blue for my left ear. I had penguin stickers on them. They were really fun. They helped marginally. So part of the outcome of these ear surgeries is my ears don't drain on their own. If I wear headphones for a long time, if I have like a cold or anything like that, and including wearing these hearing aids which would like plug up this whole ear hole, it kind of like, you know, gets hot inside your ear because there's no airflow. And then, this is gross, but like basically it would cause like fluid buildup inside my ear. And then not only could I not hear with the hearing aids on, but I couldn't hear with them off, and I had continuous ear infections because of them, and I didn't like taking ear drops for my ear infections, and to this day this is true. My eustachian tube, which is what connects your ear, nose, and throat, it goes like this, is like open because there's no eardrum in this side. Oh, I should probably mention, my right ear, after 4 of these surgeries, doesn't have a eardrum or those little bones that vibrate to send the sound waves to the cochlea. I also don't have, most of my mastoid bone is hollowed out. So inside my ears, mostly just empty space. This ear, they reconstructed an eardrum using my cartilage on the outside, like this part that people get pierced. That piece of cartilage is gone and it's inside my ear. And they did a semi-successful job. It's not perfect. For a while I had a tube in this ear, but they ended up taking it out. I've got these 2 broken ears with an open eustachian tube, so that if I go like this, where you usually pop your eardrums, air comes out of this ear. So I refuse to put eardrops in there because it goes to my throat, and then I taste eardrops and like, ew, they taste awful because they're not meant to be swallowed. Whereas anybody else, it would just sit up against their eardrum because they have something blocking it. All of this, plus the fact that I'm still deaf, and I'm like 13 at this point, and start to figure out like, I need to just tell people what I want because I'm sick of this. We went to my ear doctor for a checkup. He asked me how these hearing aids are working. I had stopped really wearing them to class and stuff because I just ended up taking them off by the end of the day anyway. I was like, I'm sick of this. I'm deaf. Like, there has to be something else. And he's like, well, you could be a candidate for these bone anchored hearing aids. And I'm like, you mean the ones you told me about a year ago that you said I'm not a candidate for? He's like, yeah, those ones. So that is how I ended up in my very first bone anchored hearing aid consultation appointment with a person who's not my usual doctor. He actually moved to Florida like the week after I got the surgery. He was really nice. He was specifically a pediatric ear, nose, and throat doctor, whereas I had like the ear, nose, and throat surgeon as my ear, nose, and throat doctor, so his bedside manner was very different. Not that I don't love Dr. Razgon, but this other guy did my surgery. He specialized in the surgery. I got it on both sides because they decided I'm deaf enough for that. And what it is, take this off. So, they cut like that, up and over, and they peel that flap of skin back, and then they take out your hair follicles so that your hair won't grow back around that little area, and then they screw like the tiniest bit into your head, into your skull, I should say. And then I'm like realizing right now that this all happened to me, because at 22, it like, I don't have to do anything where I get opened up. This all really happened. Then on the other side of this, they, you know, stitch the skin back up and put a little abutment on the other end to kind of keep it closed. So I get that surgery and both sides of my head are wrapped up afterwards. Let me put my hearing aid back on. And I got that surgery in December, 8th grade? Yeah, December of 8th grade, and it takes 3 months. So in March, I was fully cleared, like had all my stitches taken out, everything was clean and good to go. And I was given my bone anchored hearing aids, like the actual hearing aids. They like attach them to your head onto the little screws, and I could hear like a normal person. And everything is so loud. I still forget about this sometimes. If I go like a morning without putting on my hearing aids, I like don't realize like that's loud to everybody else. But to me, I'm like, that's what I hear. So it's very different having hearing aids. And then I don't think this was a smart move, but after I got my hearing aids, which like I missed part of school for, my mom sent me back to school for the rest of the day. We had concrete floors and wood chairs in these classrooms. So, you know, people are working and like, you know, their pencils are making noise on the paper and they're like shuffling around in their chairs, and it like, if someone gets out of their chair, I had never noticed any of these noises before, because up until now I'd already decided like the other hearing aids suck, I'm not wearing them. So I'm in class and I swear it was like my first true full-blown panic attack, because I was like, oh, everybody needs to shut up right now. And I remember like my teacher saw me freaking out and she's like, what's going on? And I was like, they're so loud, they need to stop, they're so loud. I was like hyperventilating. It was awful. The school was making tamales in the kitchen downstairs, and there was so much steam that it set off the fire alarm. And I like was so stressed out that I got a nosebleed just from like the overwhelming, like everything's so loud and there's too many people and I can't do it. And I just like, I want my mom to come get me. And yeah, I had like a full-blown meltdown and just went home for the rest of the day. And it took a lot of adjusting. There are tons of things that I did not know made that much noise. Like cabinets and drawers and stuff, and like car doors when you close them. It always sounds like slamming. So that was really hard. Like finally had friends who I could maintain a conversation with, and that was really cool. That was probably like when my social life really, I was aware again. Like I, you know, had friends, but I didn't really know much about them. Like I couldn't really hear them talk. And I was very bad at picking up on social cues because I couldn't really follow a conversation properly. My interest in music skyrocketed because all of a sudden I could hear all the stuff that's kind of quiet in the background other than just the main like whatever riff and the singer. Just tons of stuff that like you don't realize that exists, but to a deaf person you're like, oh my god, that's so cool. So now I'm 2012 to almost 2020, like almost 8 years into having these. It'll be 8 years in March. So right now it's 7 3/4 years. It's honestly the best thing that's ever happened to me, because since then I've been able to live a regular life, you know, except for little things. Like I'm always very clear with people if I'm like near a body of water, like you're not allowed to push me in. These things are thousands of dollars, covered by insurance luckily, but I think if I break them they're not. So I'm always like, hey, I know we're having a good time, you don't get to push me into the pool. That isn't like an invitation for you to be sneaky and funny. I can't wear hats, and that makes me sad because I like hats. I think I look cute in hats. I feel like it adds like a sporty vibe, but I have to take my hearing aids off if I want to wear hats, but then I can't hear. It's annoying for sure. I can't lay down flat on like a pillow or on my side, or really if I want to lay down I have to take off at least one hearing aid. That I am admittedly very bad at like picking a spot for my hearing aids, so sometimes I'm like, I'll put it right here while I'm like relaxing in bed, and then, you know, I fall asleep and then I wake up and I'm on top of a hearing aid, or like I'll put them just kind of on a bedside table but not really go, okay, that's where they are, and then I wake up and I'm like, where the heck? Other than that, like, it doesn't really affect my day-to-day life all that much. My boyfriend knows to be extra loud around me. I don't consider myself disabled because like I kind of fixed the problem. But yeah, it doesn't really affect my day-to-day life. It's pretty nice. Things I'm really holding out for though is waterproof, but they have a lot of pros. I got new ones maybe a year ago now. They are actually Bluetooth. So let me play a song. This is gonna play into my hearing aids and you probably can't hear it, which is pretty cool. I answer phone calls on there now, watch YouTube videos a lot on there, and it's super useful. I just like being as normal as possible. For a while I had a lot of anxiety and kind of like a lack of self-acceptance when it came to the hearing aids or being deaf. Like I always hated if I was starting a new job or a new school or a new something, because I had to tell everyone I met that I have hearing aids or that I'm deaf, or someone's gonna ask about them and then I have to explain it. But in college you meet new people like at least once every 6 months in your classes, so you just kind of get used to explaining it, and plus like no one cares after a certain point. Like it makes more sense. Me in middle school was like, oh my god, like they're gonna judge me, but now I'm like, dude, if you're judging someone for having hearing aids, like you're super lame. Plus everyone just is like, oh my god, like that technology exists, you're a cyborg. And then I'm like, hold on, there's Bluetooth, I'm okay with it now. That is the story of how I am super deaf, except sometimes not really. Thank you for watching. Merry Vlogmas, and I'll see you next time.
Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about.